Well, good day, everybody. It's noon, exactly noon, here on the 17th of June, 2025. And it's very strange. I found a bench here. There's a bench right over there. And then there's a bench over this way. I don't know. You can see it. Some lady sitting there. And there's people sitting on this bench now. When I first came here, there was nobody sitting on any of the benches. I sat down here. Now they're all over the place. And people walking by. Gosh. So I thought I'd get alone here. It's a little bit shielded from the wind. It's a little bit of a windy day. I wanted to actually go have a beer and sit on a table over there and talk, do the news, but they didn't put the tables out, maybe because of the wind. I have no idea. So I had to buy instead. Look at this. I went to some place and they have, I guess it's like craft beer. This is supposed to be like Lidskaya Premium. And one thing you have to be careful of here in Belarus is when you order a beer, it's not like in the US or Germany or any place like that. If you say a beer, normally they will always give you an unfiltered beer, which is very strange. You know, if you go to Germany, they'll tell you it's Weiss beer or Weizen or something like that. But it's very strange. Here they give you one that's unfiltered, so you got like yeast and all that in there. But this was a craft beer place I went to, and I wanted Litskaya Premium. And so often I forget to say filtered, so I got unfiltered. But Litskaya Premium is not so bad unfiltered. It's actually pretty good. It's you can a lot of the unfiltered beer. Litskaya even has some beer when it's unfiltered. It's just not that good. And I noticed when I went to that beer tour just some days ago, most of the people didn't like the unfiltered. So it's really weird that, you know, you have a lot of this unfiltered beer here in Belarus, and then the people prefer the other kind. So why do they have so much of this unfiltered? I don't know. That's just saying. So we're going to get into the news here, and some really crazy stuff. You guys are watching this. This is really bad. A lot of people, I think even Tulsi Gabbard, even before all of this stuff started happening, before Israel attacked Iran, she said it's like we're the closest to World War III, or she said nuclear war. I think she said nuclear war. Anyway, same thing. World War III is going to be a nuclear war. There's a young guy over here and an older woman. A woman probably doesn't understand English. The young guy's probably listening to everything I'm saying. Right there. Okay. And I started making notes. Today's what, the 17th, 16th? So yeah. Anyway, Donald Trump has suggested that Putin should mediate. A lot of this is going to be from the 16th, and it's still all relevant what I'm saying. He said that Putin should mediate a deal between Iran and Israel. Probably because Trump knows that Iran does not trust Donald Trump more than you can spit. And I think everybody else would know why. He's very blatantly and fully on the side of Israel. He'll screw, and basically you can look at all of these countries, France and Germany and the UK, they will all screw over Iran in a heartbeat. The only one that won't from these major powers is, of course, Russia. Russia won't screw them over, but the other ones, they'll screw Iran over so fast that it'll make your head spin. They'll screw over Palestine. They'll screw over all of those countries. You know, they're all cut from the same dough, as you guys all know that. And you can't say deep state or whatever. They're all just, I don't know, what are they? What do you want to say? They're hegemonic and greedy. They're puppets. They're liars. I mean, any bad human quality you can mention, it embodies itself in those leaders. And for the most part, that even includes Donald Trump. Donald Trump is, I don't even know. I don't even like to say that he's better than they are, because if you're watching what he's doing right now, and he's, of course, apparently he deceived Iran. Everybody is saying that. George Galloway, everybody, virtually everybody is saying that Trump deceived Iran. And Trump obviously is, I guess he's the deceiver. He's the deceiver right now. Trump has been deceiving quite often. I don't know. Trump wants what Trump wants. Oh, there's a guy coming here. He was up on the top of. Anyway, you guys can't see him. But some guy he was begging. I don't know what he was. Seems to be drinking beer. He probably gonna. I don't know. He won't come over here. I don't think. Okay. So this might be a long video, by the way, and it's not going to be walking around. Oh, that guy's got a laptop. He's going over here. Okay. Trump is, Trump is not really an honest broker at any time anyway. Trump is out for Trump. Trump, make America great again. But Trump is out for Trump. He's out for his ego. And after he called Israel's attack on Iran excellent, it's very obvious that Iran would not accept him as any kind of a broker at all. And then Macron, Macron said that Trump should mediate the peace negotiations. And Trump just yesterday, the next day, Trump called Macron a publicity seeker. Basically. I can't even remember what that's all about. Anyway. Okay, let's see. So here I even had the guy left. He wasn't there very long. I was even having a little, using adjectives to describe some of these people in these leaders in the West, and obviously Macron, just on his little statement there, after Donald Trump called the attack on Iran excellent, how could Macron suggest that Donald Trump mediate the peace between Iran and Israel? I don't know what is the word to describe Macron. He's stupid. Macron is stupid, and I mean, that's already been proven. He's proven that over and over and over again in many different ways. But these people, they're all arrogant anyway. They're stupid, they're arrogant, and they're corrupt liars. And virtually all of them. That includes Donald Trump, by the way. I had a lot more trust in Donald Trump kind of at the beginning, thinking, well, this guy, his ego is going to cause him to be doing good things, but it's not actually. And then he said, remember, if I would have been president, that war between Ukraine and Russia would never have started. Well, Donald Trump, I'm afraid that you've inherited that war and you're not able to stop it. And what about this war? What about this war now? I don't know, you're turning into being you're not the peace president, you're the war president. Donald Trump, the war president. And what else we have here? We got Maya Sandu of Moldova. Of course, she embodies all of this stuff as well. And just months after she and of course the European Union together like a team, they cheated on the elections. As you all know, that there was massive cheating. They disqualified a lot of voters, and of course, it's just like in Romania, the EU is never going to let go. They're gonna make sure, because I think they feel like they're on the ropes. Nobody really likes these people. They don't like this hegemonic warmongering, robbing their own people for their own designs, to shuffle all that money into Ukraine, steal from, it's like a Robin Hood sort of a deal, but in a different way. Steal the money from the people and shovel it to Ukraine. So steal it from the poor and give it to the super rich, Zelensky. Zelensky, Uriah Heep. And like I said, it was amazing that George Galloway also, he called it Uriah Heep. And I like George Galloway. Very well-read person, obviously. A lot of people don't know Uriah Heep. As I said, he was the character, he was the antagonist in David Copperfield, and is the guy that plays, oh, we're so humble, oh, we're such nice, we will do everything you ask, we're so very, we're humble, and then of course he ends up owning the firm. And of course that's the way, I don't know, that's the picture that a lot of people get of Jews, but I don't like to say that, and that's like, and you're looking at, like, say for example, Netanyahu. in some of these other people, they have a little bit of that, but they're deceptive. They're just deceptive. But look at, I just said Donald Trump is deceptive. Donald Trump is a deceiver too. And it might turn out to be just like what happened with President Johnson. Remember Johnson? And if you really look into President Johnson back in the 1960s, it turns out that he was Jewish, and he he masqueraded as a Christian. And you have to ask Candace Owens. Candace Owens will tell you about it. I like Candace Owens. Candace Owens is great. I'm going to talk a little bit about Marjorie Taylor Greene in a little bit too. She's an American politician, as you know. Candace Owens is not. She's just a commentator for the most part. But you start looking at some of these women in politics, and a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people, political analyst type people, that say women should not be in politics, but what is a German word is Maßstab. Their measuring stick is to look at Ursula von der Leyen, Annalena Baerbock, what's her name, Victoria Nuland, and a whole bunch of these other. There's a lot of them. They have a lot of these people. You have to look at them, but they don't look at some people like say Candace Owens, Marjorie Taylor Greene, or even Tulsi Gabbard. There's a lot of these women. They probably would be much better leaders than the men, but I don't know. I guess there's a way to keep these women out of politics or out of any significant position. I've been getting a lot of respect for Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I'll get into a little bit of what she said anyway in a bit here. But so Maya Sandow, that's another one. Kaya Kallas, that's another one. I mean, gosh, where do we get these ones? How come they get into these positions? Now there was that one in Finland. I thought she was really hot, but she is unfortunately, I think some people called her the party girl. I think she, like bisexual or lesbian or something. I don't know. But one I do like also that I think looks good is Christy Naum. So say no more. Anyway. We had another one that was really good, and that was Claire Daly. I guess she's from Ireland or whatever. She's a real fireball, and of course somehow they arranged probably to vote her out, so she's not in any political position anymore, unfortunately. But anyway, I'm rambling a lot, as you notice. I always do that. Probably, like I said, it's going to be a long video. And I know a lot of you that do follow the news and you follow the truth. You are just as much a truth activist as anybody, even myself, that puts out this news. So just knowing the truth, and maybe even talking to those that you know, I guess that makes you a truth activist as well, as long as you talk about it. Okay, where was I at here? So I was at Maya Sandow. So just months after she cheated on the election with the massive help of the EU, she now has sent the police to beat up priests. Maya Sandow, she says, I'm going to do one better than the rest of you. So, I don't think they're even beating up priests in Germany and the UK. And, obviously they do in Ukraine. But of course, Maya Sandow, she's in the Eastern Europe. So, and they have, how many times have I said, you have to be in the Hate Russia Club. If you do not go into the Hate Russia Club, you have to get lost. You better hate Russia or you're not going to be allowed into our club. And then Donald Trump, it makes you wonder, well, what is Donald Trump? Donald Trump, maybe he's the deceiver. Hey, did I just say that a little bit ago? I don't know. I don't want anybody out there, you try to say there are good things about Donald Trump, I have to admit, and I don't think he's going to ever go back on those things, the wokeness and all that sort of thing. But as far as geopolitics, minus the wokeness, I don't think Donald Trump, in those areas, he's not any different than any of these other people. And some people, I know somebody that I think I don't know if they subscribe to my channel, but I think I communicate with this lady in Bulgaria, and very intelligent, highly intelligent lady, and it's really amazing. Another woman that knows what's going on. So like I said, I don't like these people that talk about women in politics as being so bad, because there's certainly some really, really good ones. And I think that a lot of these women, of course, they'd be better in charge than the men. You know, like even Marjorie Taylor Greene, you know. Anyway, but I think she was saying that Donald Trump had made a statement once that he said that the EU was designed to screw over the United States, but I don't think so. I don't agree with that part necessarily. You know, I don't know. The vote is still out. I'm still waiting to see if there is any truth in that, but I don't think so. I don't think so. I'll tell you what, I think that the EU is just as much a part of the deep state as George Soros organization or a lot of these other ones. So I kind of think that goes along with that way. They're more like pro-democrat wokeness and crap like that. And like I said, I'm not at Maya Sandu, and I didn't even want to talk that much about Maya Sandu and Moldova. But of course, that's going to be another thing that's going to probably get sucked into the EU, little tiny state that doesn't matter so much anyway, in a certain sense. Maya Sandu, she wants to sacrifice her country to be a part of Romania. So she wants to incorporate that into Romania. And is that a good idea? I don't know. As you all saw in that last election there, they made sure that Kalin Georgescu did not win. And then they had the other guy that came out, and of course, that was allowed to run, but then there was a lot of finagling there to make sure that somebody that is pro-EU, pro-woke, anti-Russia, and all that to get into office there. I'm not even sure if the guy that actually won in Romania is really super hate Russia. A lot of this stuff is just incredible, and it really makes you wonder, how in the heck did a party that is not hate Russia make it to power in Georgia, in the Republic of Georgia? So, like I said, I'm not a party to all the facts. So let's wonder and keep our eyes open and find out how that could possibly happen. Maybe Georgia is too far away. Maybe Russia has some influence there on that vote. I don't know. We can, like I said, just keep waiting, and maybe we'll get some more indications a little bit later, because before you had Saakashvili there, maybe the people just got so sick of all of that. And of course, who was that? I don't know, Sour Bitchy, I think was her name. Of course, I changed the name, the pronunciation probably a little bit, but she was actually French. She was more French than she was Georgian, and she was trying to take over there. And of course, you guys already know about that. That's old news. I won't talk about that so much anymore. Like I said, they're beating up the priests right in front of everybody. And these priests, not just the priests, but there's a huge amount of people, and they were protesting that because Maya Sandu is trying to get rid of like traditional values. She's trying to bring in homosexuality. What do they call it? Oh, I wrote it down. Let me see. Mutilation. I'm going to start with an M. Mutilation of children. You know, sex changes and all that. Trying to encourage. You know, when you were a kid. You know, and I even remember in my days and stuff like that. You know, when you're very small. And I don't really know when they start to manipulate children and trying to encourage them to want to do sex changes. And of course, I personally really do believe that this is part of this movement of eugenics. They call eugenics, which is population reduction. And of course, at that time, you know, in the past years, I guess maybe the past 15 or 20 years, this eugenics movement, eugenics was saying that there is not enough major wars to kill off a lot of the people, and a lot of these people, Bill Gates, of course, is one of them. Klaus Schwab was another one. They penetrate the cabinets, all this sort of thing, and there's a lot more. And they want to reduce the world's population, you know, maybe to make more free playground for them, the elites, as you know, and so, you know, messing up people's minds and sex changes and homosexuality and stuff. that's just part of the agenda to reduce the world's population in any way they possibly can. And of course, now they got their wars going. You think, maybe they should cool off on the on this, mutilating of children and cutting off their genitals. Cut your junk off, I guess, as J.P. Sears says. And and it's really weird because, you see sometimes in these protests, you're watching these protests, I see men and they got friggin' breasts. I'm thinking, and you see these things, it's like, it's like, you think it's like a hot looking lady, and it's friggin' a dude. It's a dude. What was that in that movie from Clerks, Chicks with Dicks? This Randall, the character that in Clerks, the movie Clerks, Part 1. You guys have to watch that if you haven't already. Chicks with Dicks, he was getting porno movies. The real guy that plays that, he said he had a real hard time in making that movie because he knows his mom was going to be watching it, and he's talking about weird stuff like that. Back in those days, of course, it was a little bit more, I don't know. It's a black and white movie, and it was like by Kevin Smith, and he sold his comic book collection to make this movie, and it turned out to be a real cult. So you have to watch that. Clerks. There's Clerks 2. I don't think that's bad either. Kevin Smith, of course, made a lot of money from that. But anyway, I won't talk about that. Getting too much into this distraction stuff here. Okay, they beat up the police. The priests. Okay. I guess, as a lot of people are saying, of course, the agenda is always, of course, to make Maya Sandow. She's to make herself look like she's fit to be in the EU. She wants in the EU, obviously. I don't know why she would want that, but anyway. Terrible agendas. You got these agendas going on. You guys can figure a lot of that stuff out. We can always talk about that while you watch these videos and all this time. Israel have said they have assassinated, like I said, this stuff is, they've assassinated Iran's top military leaders and at least 14 nuclear scientists in the past few days. Wow. Over the past years, Israel, of course with the help a lot of time of the US, assassinated a lot of top military people in, like obviously Donald Trump killed Soleimani, 16 other people, and I believe one of them was also the prime minister of Iraq that he killed. And that's a real big deception thing there. I think the United States was trying to push for peace between, they said they wanted to, I think it was Donald Trump, believe it or not, wanted peace. And I guess I don't know if this stuff has recently come out. He wanted peace, he said he wanted peace between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Anyway, he was trying to facilitate that, apparently himself as well. And these people were lured there, and then Donald Trump bombed them and killed them all 16 of them. So that was another part of Mr. Deception. I don't know. I guess I have to call this video something to do with Trump and deception. And it's really weird. I guess a lot of people, if you're Christians, they talk about the Antichrist will be somebody claiming to be... this is some weird stuff. And I'm not saying I necessarily believe in that. I don't really understand it, don't know it all. But that the Antichrist will be somebody that is deceptive and comes out and says they are for peace and wanted to do peace this and peace that. Oh, that's pretty weird. It makes your skin crawl. Okay. So, and by the way, Israel just killed another guy, a top military guy, just last night. So, from Iran. And I'm always just kind of wondering, well, who's got the upper hand here right now? And I don't know. It's up. You never know what is true and what isn't true, what you're hearing in the news. But let me just keep on going and telling you the stuff that came out here. And I'm hoping a lot of this stuff is real truth and real facts. I'm believing it is. Okay. So Lindsey Graham, he's called for Trump to annihilate anything. He didn't say to destroy Iran, even though he probably really wants it, but he said destroy anything that is nuclear and anything to do with missiles in Iran. And it's really strange because that's exactly what Netanyahu wants. It makes you really wonder. Lindsey Graham, he's got a lifeline to Zelensky. He's got a lifeline to Netanyahu. So whenever you hear Zelensky talking, it's similar to whatever Netanyahu wants. Whenever you hear Lindsey Graham, whenever you hear Netanyahu talk, it's almost the same thing as Lindsey Graham. So it makes but and as you all know, that all of the top donors of Lindsey Graham, they are all military-industrial complex guys. This whole thing is undeniably huge, huge, huge into people that make bombs and weapons that kill people. This is really incredible. Lindsey Graham, of course, is the poster child of all of this stuff. Yes. So, but yeah, Lindsey Graham's trying to be careful. He doesn't want to get, sway public opinion so badly. So he's not saying, kill them all, let God sort them out. People around here, my problem. Like I said, there was nobody sitting on any of these benches, and then I sit down here, and all of a sudden, anyway, they're following me. Okay. By the way, Lindsey Graham, he is recognized as a terrorist by the Russian government, and probably little doubt of that. He's a very despicable and disgraceful human being. There's no doubt about that. Makes you wonder how the heck this guy gets reelected. How in the heck, what is that, South Carolina? Who in the heck would reelect some, and I don't know, maybe Christians, I don't like to use, he's a friggin' bastard. Well, who would there's a lot of these bastards, like Netanyahu, who's beyond that. Satan Yahoo. A subscriber mentioned that is that name, which really fits him. I tell you what, he's far, far beyond Adolf Hitler. They paint this picture of Adolf Hitler, who is not a great guy, by the way. I'm not going to say he is, but Netanyahu is far beyond that. So let's keep going here. Netanyahu, he denied that Trump told him not to kill Iran's leader Khamenei. They said they're going to try to, and who knows, they might be. It's like, if you guys already know this, it's obvious that Russia, they could have killed Zelensky many, many times over, but of course they don't operate that way. It's unlike Netanyahu. So Netanyahu said that's a false report. There's a lot of false reports, he said, and of course we all know that already. Nice young little girl there. Not that young, but anyway. Iran has caught like I said, this is from yesterday, and I think that this is a little bit different, I think, because I wrote it down a little bit later, but Iran has caught 2 Mossad spies, as well as finding a large drone factory. And of course, it's like a big apartment, apparently. I don't know, they showed, footage of that, where Mossad, inside of Iran, has been making drones and bombs. They've already set off many car bombs. I think a lot of time, because Iran has quashed a lot of this other sabotage stuff that is being conducted by Israel. So another topic here. The EU leaders, Macron, Merz, van der Leyen, those 3 at least, they've come out and said Israel has the right. They have the right to attack Iran. And it's like, it's really strange. It's really strange. Russia did not have the right after Ukraine not only was threatening Russia, threatening their own people in the Donbass, but they were killing them. They killed 14,000. But Russia doesn't have the right. But Israel, when Iran has not killed any of them, never attacked, except for, that little skirmish, already about that thing. First, Israel always bombs Iran. But anyway, they have the right. And Iran is, of course, the bad guy. The bad guy for getting bombed. If you get bombed, you're the bad guy. It's incredible. Iran is guilty, they said. I guess it was the word guilty. And has no right to defend themselves. Pretty strange like that. So you have to let Israel bomb you. You're bad. It's kind of like what they probably would believe with Russia. You are bad. You have bad blood. You're a friggin' Russian. You need to get bombed. I can tell you so many stories. And I was, like I said, this lady from Bulgaria, really interesting conversations, has many degrees. It's tremendous when you meet somebody like this. But she was talking about some of her experiences, Anyway, but I had mentioned, like my wife in Germany, you know, she was qualified for a lot higher jobs, and she was not allowed to take it because they considered her a Rusa. She's from Belarus, I think, and it's not from some area, you know, which they call the Außensiedlers, which is like the area that used to be Germany, and it was like, you know, they trade the Oder, Neisse, and a whole bunch of things from agreements from World War II, and these people, I won't go into that, but anyway, so they're not allowed to have good jobs. You have to, and the lady that was employing her said she has to be very happy that she's the cleaning lady, that she's a Rusa, you're a Russian. And I mean, I'm talking about, this is Germany, and this is, believe it or not, this is Germany today. You should be very happy you're a Russian to have a job, to be a cleaning lady, even though you're an engineer. You're an engineer, but you should be happy to be a cleaning lady, to clean up after people. So, and I've met other people also over there with the same sort of a deal. You know, and this is the honest to God truth. You know, you watch these videos, it's unlike watching the news when they're telling you a whole different story. But you know, maybe a lot of these people that are coming from Syria and all that sort of thing, you never hear about them getting really good jobs, but they just get a whole bunch of money. My wife didn't get any money. I had to sign some paper that says she will not get any money, and she cannot get any social benefits or nothing whatsoever. Zero, not one red cent. Probably because she's Russian. Who knows? So, anyhow, let's keep going here. Iran is guilty. No right to defend itself. How can you blame Iran? It's their fault for getting attacked. And you guys already know, I'll get into this stuff about the IAEI and this Rafael Grossi or whatever his name is. Okay. And remember Kosovo. And of course, that was a violation of international law. It's really strange. How is it? You know, and Donald Trump, it also even proves, you know, the United States was involved with Europe to bomb Kosovo and to, you know, to take control of that whole area and all that sort of thing. But, you know, what about international law? So it's not like, you know, they work in concert with each other. So it's not like it's not like they are against each other, the EU and the US. For some odd reason, they're together. You can see that George Soros is part of this project as well. We have to all try to figure out all of these little clues, start connecting the dots at some point in time, and maybe we'll find somebody, probably not me, I don't know. As time goes by, we'll start to find out, you know, what the real picture is, what's going on here. So let's see. Obviously, certain countries, they do not have the right to defend themselves. Only a few, and only when, if and when, certain other countries say they are. And these countries, of course, are never held accountable. Never, ever, ever. George Galloway, there was, like I said, there was some things about him. I'm going to be talking about him a little bit more here. He stated that Israel, really and truly, they put command posts. Remember when they were bombing the hospitals in Gaza? They bombed all the hospitals, every single one of the hospitals. They're bombing the schools and everything. And they always said, oh, there's a command post underneath in the basement of the hospitals. Well, it turns out, and George Galloway, he said this a few times, and he stated, and this is very, he said, it is provable, it is absolutely proven that Israel puts command centers beneath the hospitals in Israel. So a lot of these Mossad and military command centers, they're beneath the hospitals. You know, they're using their own people as human shields, not, you know, and you've seen them tie Palestinians to the hoods of their vehicles and drive through cities to use the Palestinians as human shields. You know, well, that's international law not to do that. You cannot do that. You cannot use human shields. But, you know, obviously, Israel does not have to obey any laws. They don't have to obey any laws, not one. And they are never, ever, ever, ever held accountable. They can do anything they choose. You guys already know that. Just, you know, go into a rant talking about this stuff. Okay. So, and the United States, of course, says, oh, they're not involved in this stuff, you know. But I think even, George Galloway, you know, he mentioned this, and he had a guest. It was, of course, Mohammed Marandi, you know, professor from Iran. and we'll talk a little bit about him. But virtually every single bomb and all the jets, everything that Israel has is given to them, and it is given. It is given to them. It is given to them by the American taxpayer. They don't ever have to pay a penny of that. And you have to really wonder, these people, you know, these people are very manipulative. How can you get all of this stuff absolutely free of charge? You know? And of course, oh yes, they say, oh, you have to pay us back, but they never ever demand that they pay them back. You guys already know that. Donald Trump, I say in a lot of videos, he said, oh yeah, you get $4 billion every year, every year from us. Congratulations, he said. But of course, it always is a far, far more. Sometimes it's way over double that much. I think it was in 2024, they got $10 billion free of charge from the United States, never pay a penny of it back. And the Congress always says, oh, you don't have to pay us back. So Israel can come and they can say, we've never defaulted on a loan. We've never defaulted on a loan. It's because it's always forgiven by the Congress, something that you guys should all know. Okay, so just from that alone, that the United States is involved in this, and I've already talked about the refueling airplanes, refueling all of the bombers en route. It's too long of a distance, so they refuel them on their way to bombing Iran and coming back, of course. I have a little bit more about that in a couple of seconds here. Okay, if it were Russia, were Russia doing all of this stuff? Now, what do you think? How would the global media be using this to condemn and attack Russia? And, oh, how dare Russia, how bad they are. But everything that the United States does, of course, shh, it's never even talked about, and it's hushed under the rug. And even if it gets talked about, oh, they disappear it within a day or so. Okay, George Galloway. Okay, this is what I was going to get to. George Galloway, he put out like a shock information, and he talked about that on his, I think, mother of all talk shows, that there was a German refueling aircraft over Syria, and I don't know if they accidentally turned on their transponders, or I tell you what, I don't know if it was accidental. I'll tell you what probably happened. These people are untrained, and they didn't really know how to coordinate with Israel, and of course the transponder was turned on very, very shortly, for seconds, and I think that was to give the Israelis the knowledge of where this refueling aerial tanker, flying gas station, airplane gas station, was located at, so that the Israelis can go there and refuel while they're on their way, or on their way back, probably on the way back from bombing Iran. So I don't think they're going to have to do that anymore. I have even more news about this coming up in a second here. So obviously Germany's involved. Now we have Germany, UK is involved. Everybody knows UK is involved. They're a little bit more sneaky. Germany is kind of a little bit rusty in the clandestine, sneaky stuff, but absolutely Merz, he wants to be a part of that. Jawohl, jawohl. Merz wants to be part of this. So anyway, and France, but like I said, I just mentioned some of these people. Ursula von der Leyen, she's heavily in favor of that, and obviously Starmer is, but we don't have yet any evidence, any smoking gun yet of what France has been doing. So we have to wait for that. If they are sending, obviously they have weapons and things there, but as far as actions, the United States heavily involved. They are refueling a lot of these Israeli jets as well. We all know that. And of course they're using the bases, a lot of these military bases in a lot of these regions. And of course these countries are all very weak. These Arabic countries, sadly, even if they don't really like what they're doing, the US is using all their bases. They're using, oh gosh, I'll keep going into more stuff. Elon Musk turning on Starlink for Mossad. Okay. So, George Galloway, he was interviewed, like I said, Professor Syed Marandi. Did I say Mohammed? I don't know, maybe it's Mohammed Syed, I don't know. Anyway, Marandi, who is a professor in Tehran, and he was a negotiator, believe it or not. He's very, very highly looked at in Iran, and they are really trying to kill him. The Israelis So this guy is kind of on the run for the most part. Very difficult for him to even be making that interview with George Galloway, because Israel wants to kill everybody that has any influence whatsoever. So he even mentioned that, I think, on that Mother of All talk shows. And very well spoken, very, very well spoken, very, very knowledgeable. So that is one reason why they want to get rid of this guy. So let's see. And he is saying that virtually, not all, virtually all the companies, corporations and the governments in Europe and the Middle East are some way tied to assisting Israel in this battle against, or whatever, aggression against Iran. Only Yemen is not at all, any of the corporations or anything like that. Yes. And of course the United States, as I wrote this one, that they're certainly gonna get involved, and it was kind of more like a hunch, but it's not a hunch anymore. I was going to say a little bit of the differences between Ukraine war and Israeli war. It is virtually all these wars, they're started and provoked by the West, all of them, and they have, their root causes in some of these human failings, such as the sick, these sick people, greed, arrogance, power, ego, domination, hate. Hate Russia. I mean, I've gone through a lot of these things in all of my videos. At one point and another, there's got to be a lot of money being made. And Donald Trump with his arrogance, which is its ego, of course, same thing. And their power, they want to get rid of the BRICS. They want to collapse them, screw them over. Israel wants power, dominate, hate Russia club, hate this. I didn't write it here, but as you guys all know, probably, when you start to see these indications, I did write a little bit of something, but there is some work, obviously, between collusion between Ukraine and Israel. And you will hear about that with the spiderweb sort of a deal, but there's been weapons transfers and all kinds of things already before. So, but let's keep going. Okay. Trump in the last, it's about the last 12 hours, I would say, he's putting on a massive propaganda campaign, and I'll tell you, it's very obvious what is going on. He said, and he keeps saying these words, and of course he's trying to drill this in. He's being his own. It's like CNN and all of these channels. Remember when they all parrot the same sort of thing, like during the Democrat times, and they say over and over the same thing. They want to drill it into your head. We can't let Iran have nuclear weapons. So Donald Trump is conditioning everybody that is watching, everybody in the world, by the way, not just Americans, that, he's trying to make everybody think Iran is getting nuclear weapons and we cannot let them. He's trying to justify a big attack on Iran. And trust me, it's coming. Donald Trump is already preparing everybody mentally for a big attack on Iran. People are watching me now. We can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. Some lady's friggin' staring at me. It bugs the shit out of me. Anyway. Yeah. In the past week or two, the head of the IAEA, what's his name? Rafael Grossi, I guess is his name. He has come out, and I don't know exactly what day he came out and said this, but he said, yes, Iran seems, I don't know, have he said seems? I don't know, but he's actually trying to make everybody think, yes, Iran is building nuclear weapons. And you know what the big difference is? All of these people, the real scientists that are going in and looking at things, and the inspectors, they say, no, that's not true. But they're all silenced. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. All those guys. And there's no doubt, and of course, Iran seems to have gotten a treasure trove of a lot of secret documents from Israel. I don't know how they got it. Israel does have a very good intelligence network, of course. But anyway, it turns out that this guy was somehow manipulated. Either he was promised gold or women, or maybe he was threatened his kids are going to die or something like that, unless he does what Israel tells him to do. It's not very, I tell you, I've had classes in manipulation and various things. And like I said, me coming up and talking to you like just some joker here talking like on YouTube, and you have people that are maybe kind of celebrities, Colonel, and I like Colonel Douglas McGregor, or Major. Why is he a major? Look at Scott Ritter, tremendous position. I mean, he was only a major. He should have been like a colonel at least. Skip a couple ranks up. He should have been, because he was in a big position. But there's a lot of these people, and of course there are CIA operatives and things like that. If I've had some kind of position, seen some sort of things, had some sort of training in my life as well. I'm a little bit, I was more enlisted. I was a non-commissioned officer in the military. I was not like Colonel McGregor or anything like that. But of course, I have had some exposure as well. Luckily, I'm safe over here in Belarus. They're not going to come and get me. I had to sign documents to say I would never talk about the things that I've seen. And I met, like some presidents, things like that. So I seen some things myself, had some different types of training, anti-terrorist training, and seen some training manuals that you would not believe, like how to cause a big revolution in a country. Anyway, but manipulation, of course, not very difficult. And of course, the Israelis are the masters of that anyway. So they manipulated this guy, this Grossi. It's, like I said, not difficult whatsoever. And that's what happened. And he said, oh yes, Iran is building a nuclear bomb. And a lot of times these people, they cannot even resign. They cannot even resign their position. So that's we know as well as your daughter does her laundry. Shame if something happens to her. Well, or your little granddaughter. Oh, she didn't do too good in the last assignment in school. My fake voice. Okay. And you should have a lot more people talking about this. You should have a lot of these CIA people they should actually be telling you guys about this stuff, about how they manipulate people, and that's how a lot of this stuff actually gets started. And Israel, of course, is a master of that. Okay, so let's keep going here. Anyway, Rafael Grossi was manipulated. Along with this, I've talked about it already in the last video. Netanyahu had come out and said that he was ready, for the most part. He said something like he was like ready for this attack 6 months ago, and maybe he had all these assets in place, spiderweb sort of a deal, like we'll get to in a second here, in Iran, and it's kind of, like I said, corresponds. That's exactly when Donald Trump became president. That's really kind of unusual, and it is unusual, but I'm sure that some people should be able to piece that together. And I'm just going off the words of Netanyahu himself. He admitted that. So. Okay. Well, let's take a little break from the Mideast news. I'll get back to that a little bit more in a little bit. Let's talk about some of the other things going on here. Luckily, Russia convinced the Ukraine to take back. Of course, they probably really shamed them that they were avoiding taking back some of their dead, and luckily they have actually been doing that now, taking back the corpses of some of the dead Ukrainian soldiers, and it shows you the difference of how humanity is respected. In the old days, maybe it was like that in Ukraine, but it's not like that anymore. They have the ideology that has convinced everybody there that Russians are not even human beings, but they're species. Those are the words of Vladimir Zelensky, as I've said before. He says Russians are not humans, they're species. And in any case, Russia tried to preserve a lot of the corpses of these Ukrainians that the Ukrainian military refused to pick up on the battlefield even back in those times. So they saved them, they refrigerated them, and they have already transferred back over 6,000 of them by now. I think it was 6,060. It was a little over 6,000. And Ukraine had, till recently, returned none, zero, because they didn't keep them. They probably burned all the Russian bodies. They don't give a damn. But maybe in the last week or so, they've kept a couple because it otherwise looks pretty bad when the Ukrainians have nothing to return. And of course, that was part of the Istanbul agreements recently, that they have to exchange these bodies. And Ukraine probably didn't give a damn. They didn't know that Russia was actually preserving these things for proper burials in Ukraine. But anyway, they had 78, lots, compared to 6,060. So, and it's probably just within the last month or so, they had 78 Russian soldiers' bodies. So, okay. On June 13th, when Israel bombed Iran, Elon Musk turned on. Very strange. You know, they didn't know anything about it, but exactly on that same day that Israel bombed Ukraine and started off this entire business that's going on right now, Elon Musk turned on the Starlink. And of course, it's not, you know, it's not really at all what Benjamin Netanyahu is actually talking about. They are trying to incite more people. They want instability. And I've already mentioned in some of my other videos that that is exactly what happened in World War I, is instability. And maybe somebody instigated that too. I don't even know. I'm not really privy. I should actually look that up because it's probably true. But there was an instability in World War I, and that's what actually caused Germany to, I don't know, I guess they surrendered in World War I. Even though militarily they were far more ahead of the French and the British, and that's why it was called the stab in the back by the Germans. Anyway, but this might be exactly what Netanyahu is trying to do. He's trying to create rebellion within Iran. And of course, I've met a lot of Iranian people in a lot of different places, and there are Iranians that are against the regime there. How many? I don't know. I've never been to Iran. Because it's kind of like half-half. I've met half of the Iranians I've met are in favor of the government there, and half of them maybe are not. But then you have to realize that here I'm living in a foreign country outside of Iran, and obviously you would think that people that are against Iran would probably rather be out of Iran. So I would think those that are in Iran, there are more of them that are in favor of the government of Iran than that are against it. So but Benjamin Netanyahu is he's putting out broadcasts trying to get the Iranian people to rebel, and he doesn't give a crap about the Iranian people. I even start to wonder if he even gives a crap about the Israeli people. You already know about the Hannibal Directive, when it's undeniable fact that he was killing Israelis. He was killing Israelis on that, what is it, January 7th or 6th or what? I always get those days mixed up. Back in 2023, that's kind of kicked off his massacre of all of these people in Gaza. And he wants to kill them. I mean, Netanyahu, I don't even need to talk about him. You guys already know about this guy. This guy is probably, I don't know, he's more satanic than any person on the face of the earth. There's no doubt about that. And I think, what did Jeffrey Sachs call him? A deep, dark son of a bitch. And of course, I think any humanistic type of person knows that about Benjamin Netanyahu. So let's get going here more. You can all get into a rage about Benjamin. How in the heck is he in that position? The most evil man probably on the face of the earth. He doesn't care about, anyway, I don't know. So anyway, they exchanged the corpses here, June 13th. Elon Musk, strangely enough, I don't like to think of him as a bad guy, but he activated that. And of course, the Starlink is so that Mossad agents can communicate with each other, and of course they've been using car bombs. A lot of car bombs. They've had drone factories inside of Iran. They smuggle. It is very much like I would say. I should say it right now, even though I think I said it a little bit later. A lot of people have been talking about the similarities between what Ukraine was calling, I don't know if they called it Operation Spiderweb, but Spiderweb, where they snuck in various parts of drones inside of Russia and to carry out all of those attacks on those 6 military bases and to bomb, things which is actually, they're prohibited from bombing those for international law. But what's the deal? It's Ukraine. Anybody that is supported by the United States, which includes Ukraine, which includes Israel, which includes, of course, Great Britain, you don't have to obey any international laws. Only Russia and China and Iran and everybody, you better obey all the international laws, or we're going to come down on you, come down hard on you, and the General Assembly is going to vote against you, destroy you. But when Israel and all of these countries, when they completely ignore, they do anything they want to do, nothing ever happens to them. The United States will back them up. Big money. Okay, what else? Here, let's keep going. What else? Elon Musk. Okay. There's at least one agent that Iran has caught, an agent of Mossad, and they executed him already. So, I hate to say this, but good. Good for him. I mean, good for Israel. Or, I'm messed up here. Good for Iran. Getting distracted, too many people. A lot of people around here talking a little. I can't show you all this stuff. Good discussions and things over here, smoking, joking. Okay. Max Blumenthal. The lovely, the great, the fantastic Max Blumenthal, Jewish guy that is founder of the Gray Zone and doesn't kiss anybody's backside. Wow, great reporter, Max Blumenthal. So what is he saying? Max Blumenthal, he was about the first person on X that exposed that the U.S. is sending a gigantic U.S. Air Force deployment to the Middle East. And if Max Blumenthal says it, you can take that to the bank that it's absolutely happening. Max Blumenthal, he doesn't mess around. The Gray Zone. So they're sending a massive contingent. And of course, after he had reported that, I've seen a lot more evidence, of course, to support exactly what he said. I'll get into that too in a minute. Have to take a beer. So they have sent, and of course it's been reported, of course, since that time by other people. The United States sent, and of course I think this has even been expanded since that time. This stuff is happening so fast. But by the time he reported it originally, they were sending 20 aerial refueling tankers to the Middle East. 20 of them. Can you imagine 20? And I guess, what is it, a tanker? I don't know how many jets can one tanker refuel. Maybe many of them. But anyway, they're sending 20 of them. 20. They're there to refuel a lot of aircraft. And like I just mentioned already, that the German one, they turned on their transponder, and so they were discovered that Germany is also involved in this thing. So, of course, they've already arrived by now, since I said that, and they have a lot more military assets. Lots of bombs are going, lots of bombs. The aircraft carrier Nimitz was on its way to Vietnam, to deploy to Vietnam, and it turned around. And of course, normally aircraft carriers, they have a lot of ships, battleships, and everything. It's a huge bunch of ships already going around to protect these aircraft carriers. And I guess the whole entire works is all heading back to the Middle East right now. U.S. sending a lot of ships, a lot of airplanes. Well, I'll get to the airplanes in a minute here. And lots of bombs, refueling tankers. It's like I have to say this, and it's terrible. They are getting ready for a very, very, very major war going on. This is undeniable. I tell you what, I think this is inevitable. And if you see how exactly, how they have been treating Iran already in all of this time, saying they're making a nuclear bomb when there's no evidence, truly no evidence, this war is being pushed upon Iran. And they're using everything possible, and there's a lot of countries. I'm sure France is involved. Obviously, UK is involved. Germany is now obviously involved. Germany's not supposed to be involved according to their constitution, but Germany's involved. Very, very sad stuff going on here. And what do you have? You have probably Yemen and Iran. You know, Turkey's doing some little motions here and there, but Turkey's not going to do anything. You guys already know that. Turkey's Erdogan. I don't know. Say no more. Say no more. So, but there are other people. A lot of them are saying also similar things to what I've been saying. They are saying, I think it was George Galloway. Anyway, some other people. And I've seen other blogs, and of course the people that run the blogs are saying the same. Very similar to what I'm saying. Not exactly. They are not there yet, but they will be there. That Trump is, they said Trump is bought and paid for by Israeli billionaires. A lot of them are mostly that is what they're saying. I'm not sure I don't miss some of this stuff here. Okay. And you know what I've been saying. You guys all know what I've been saying, that Donald Trump, he owes the presidency to Israel. And you know, you have the deep state and you have Israel. And I guess, to me, I believe they are separate. And of course, there are different entities probably within the deep state, you know, and they all vie for their own interests. And, you know, the deep state, what is the deep state? You know, what is the shadow government? Some people say that they still do exist. There is a shadow government and a deep state. And I don't know, but a lot of times some people say that, oh, they just switched the name. It used to be called the shadow government, now it's called the deep state. But Israel's not actually a part of that. And a lot of times, you have to also remember that George Soros, he's an atheist. He is not a Jew. A lot of people, oh, he's a Jew, and all that. And you try to tie these things together. But, you know, these are all deceitful. These people are very greedy. They're arrogant, mainly greedy, and they will do anything. They care zero about any human lives except for their own and their own buddies and their family. Anybody that supports them to make them even richer and more powerful, that is it. The rest of us are, what do they call it, like Henry Kissinger said, and many people have said, useless eaters. We are useless eaters. You know, especially people like me that are exposing a lot of this stuff. You know, and even you guys that know this stuff, maybe you talk to your friends, truth activists, nasty. It makes you wonder how much more freedom they're going to be taken away from us. That's the key thing right there. Forget this friggin' crap about democracy and all that sort of stuff anyway. Democracy. Freedom is what you actually want. It's all about freedom. More freedom over here in Belarus, I'm telling you, than there is over there in the West. You know? Somebody's got to sit down one day and you got to start adding all this stuff together and say, well, what is the most important things? How do you feel good? What is your life all about? What do you hope for? You want to be this and you want to be that. You want that. And I'll tell you what, life is better over here than it is over there. They're out to get you over there. It's only a matter of time. Sorry to say that. That's it. There are good people, but they're never going to let them into any sort of a good place. And then I'll talk about one of them right now is Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's, of course, quite upset with Trump, and it's very unusual. You know, it's not like she's playing around. She's voting her conscience. She is a person of conscience. That is fantastic. Somebody in Congress that actually has a conscience, you know. Thomas Massey. There's not that many. A lot of them, as you see, the Democrats, they will go along with any kind of a crappy agenda to screw over, to make themselves richer and more powerful. The Democrats, for the most part, most all of them, are pathetic little puppets. You know, you got to love people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. There are people like Candace Owens. You know, hey, wait, these are women. Women aren't supposed to be in politics. Anyway, so she said that she posted something up there. You know, her dates go back to like the 1993, I believe, 1992, and showing all the times they're saying Iran is 2 weeks away from having a nuclear bomb. Some of them might have said a year away, and I guess some of the later ones, I guess because she entered her tweet or whatever this was, saying maybe some of that Iran is days away, not weeks, days away from having a nuclear bomb. And she said something. Let me see if I can find it here. Anyway, she went all the way up to 2025, and like I said, I found it even back to 1984. It's very easy to remember that date because, George Orwell sort of stuff. Um, she said, the last, so does Iran have a nuclear bomb now? It's been days. The days are over. So where's this nuclear? Do they have a nuclear bomb now? Gosh. And George Galloway is saying that Iran made a mistake, that they did not try to get a nuclear bomb. Because look at, he uses as justification as North Korea. He says, look at North Korea. They made a nuclear bomb and everybody leaves them alone. And so many people have said that. If you make a nuclear bomb, everybody leaves you alone. So maybe that is a blunder by Iran. But Iran, I'm hoping that their hypersonic missiles, and to be honest with you, and I'm not saying I want to advocate for anybody getting killed, really, but I'm hoping that Iran has over 1,000, maybe 2,000. The United States, sadly enough, and unfortunately, if these ships and all these bases start launching more planes, more bombs and stuff against Iran, I hope Iran is able to take care of themselves. Doesn't mean I'm anti-US. I am actually pro-US, but it looks like people like Donald Trump are anti-US. A lot of these people, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, are pro-US. So wanting the United States to go and bombing people, that doesn't sound like pro-US to me. It's destroy your image as well as many other things. So anyway, what else we got here? Thomas Massey, like I said, he's also part of that. And Trump is calling Tucker Carlson Kooky Carlson because Tucker Carlson doesn't want to have a war. But I thought Donald Trump was the peace president. Carlson doesn't want to have a war, and that doesn't want the United States to get involved in that war, which of course the United States actually even started, but that makes him kooky. And Donald Trump is the peace president because he said that Israel's attack on Iran was excellent, and so on and so forth. I'll tell you what, Trump hates Muslims. I've said that before, and even if he tries to play like he doesn't, he certainly does. Oh, my hair, I'm having a bad hair day, look at that. Anyway. So, let's keep going here. Like I said, it's going to be a long video. It's well over an hour right now. Probably going to take YouTube 20 hours to upload it. By that time, it'll be old news. Kooky Carlson. Okay. And along with that, Trump keeps trying to drill it into your heads, to drill into the heads of everybody on Earth. We can't have Iran. We can't let Iran have a nuclear bomb. That's the whole thing. And I tell you what, that is justification for when the United States is going to be bombing Iran. We can't let them have, trying to make everybody think that Iran is trying to get a nuclear bomb. That's the whole thing. Marjorie Taylor Greene said, and even before, Tulsi Gabbard said there's no evidence of that. And I was thinking that maybe I don't know, that Iran was having it up to 60%. I don't think it's even enriched to 60%. I think it has to be like 95%. I don't know. Why is it that I always have trucks or some kind of loud noises whenever I'm doing videos? There's some people over here doing some drilling. I guess I'm going to have to move. Pack up and go. Gotta pack my things and go. Once I ran to you, now I run from you. Okay. No, I'm not that drunk here, but let's find a better place. Like maybe a bench or something. There's apartment buildings here, so there's got to be benches in front here. It's like everybody's against me. Like I said, I came here, and there was nobody here. Nobody walking by, really nothing. And all of a sudden, so many people. There's a bench I spy over there by the entrance of a... I don't know if you guys can see that. Entrance of a apartment building. I don't even really want to be there, but... Not even supposed to be here by now. That's also from Clerks, by the way. Oh, boy. So, can I talk while I'm doing this? I got carrying too many things. a liter of beer. I think, weird. I don't really like, normally I don't like beer over 5% alcohol. Well, this is over, it's only 5.1%. I was gonna get one that's 4.6, but a lot of time you get up to like having more and it just doesn't taste that good. Oh, anyway, I'll sit here. Here we go, see? Oh no, you can't see, I don't have that one on. So, why does my pack never want to stay up? It always falls down. Okay, now it's windier here. I'm gonna have to really struggle. I have another page and a half to go here. So, I talked about Thomas Massey, Cookie Carlson. I write this stuff down to make sure that I get some, the right stuff for you guys. A lot of people I'm noticing they use teleprompters and all that sort of a thing. But let's see. Anyway, Donald Trump wants everybody to believe beyond any shadow of a doubt that Iran is making nuclear bombs when there's no evidence whatsoever. And the president of Iran keeps saying, we are not trying to make a nuclear bomb. We don't have, and all of the scientists are saying there is no evidence that Iran is trying to get a nuclear bomb. No evidence whatsoever. But as you know, and I've been saying that Donald Trump owes his presidency to Israel, and I think it looks like, and this is my opinion, and I think a lot of people are starting to move in this direction, that the deal that was made is that there is something to go down against Iran, in a promise you make. It's this, just like President Johnson back in the 1960s, and of course, I guess these are his words: you make me president and I'll give you your goddamn war. And of course, there we had Vietnam, and he quashed all that stuff. Of course, he's a Jewish president, closet Jewish president, and he's the one that smashed all that stuff and allowed a lot more of Israel to get nuclear weapons. And John F. Kennedy was actually going against it and all that sort of thing, and he exposed it. But of course, that's what it's all about anyway. Okay, Cookie Carlson, let's see. Russia intel has actually exposed already, so it's probably not going to happen, that Ukraine, and obviously they're how am I going to get out of the wind here? Jeez. You see how difficult it is to be doing videos. Wow, I guess that's some kind of garbage. People are going to be coming probably here to throw their garbage away. I got to do this fairly quickly. It's getting even friggin' windy here. Oh, everything's going against me. Okay. Man. Okay, they were planning, I guess what the plan was to have Ukraine, which obviously means the UK, definitely, beyond any shadow of a doubt, and of course other people. They were, their other compatriots in crimes and all this, and all of them probably know about this. They're all collaborating. They all know this stuff is all fake and stuff like that, but they wanted to use a Soviet missile or torpedo, and I guess they were supposed to have two. The Russian intelligence found this out, and one is supposed to be detonated near a United States ship, and the other one maybe was supposed to hit a United States ship and maybe do some kind of minimal damage, but of course it is to make it look like Russia. Somebody wanted to use the garbage just like I said. Oh my God. Anyway, it's to make it look like Russia is the one that is attacking United States ships, But of course, now it's been exposed. It's not really going to work. And I don't know. Trump. I don't understand his attitude towards Russia anyway. But anyway, they thought that would work, and it's not working. So luckily, Russian intelligence has found out. Okay. And as I said before, they caught some collaborators, and then now they found out they caught some Mossad agents, of course, in Iran. But now, what I guess was put out is they caught 28. By the time I was seeing this, so far, 28 collaborators that are collaborating in Iran with the Mossad. So I don't know. Their days are not going to be very pleasant. Obviously traitors, I guess is what you call people like that. And okay, and apparently, and I guess it's very probable that Iran has shot down count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 F-35s. F-35s, the super stealthy, most advanced airplane on planet Earth by far, many generations. Just like the Abrams tank, the Abrams A2 tank that Russia is destroying and watching them all burn in Ukraine. These wonder weapons or something like that. But I guess Israel has shot down 4 of these things. And I guess it's the stock. I don't even really know who makes them. I didn't really take note, but their stock has gone down on that as well. And Israel has come out and said they are defending Europe, and they come out and said they're defending the United States too. I mean, I guess, wait a minute. I thought, wait. I thought it was Ukraine. Ukraine was defending Europe. Ukraine was defending humanity. Ukraine was defending freedom and democracy. And no, wait. Now it's Israel that's doing it. Oh my God. Yeah, not Russia. Not anyway. I don't even have to mention this stuff to you guys here. But the freedom of the press, freedom of speech and all that, said, oh, wait a minute. Israel just bombed IRIB TV in Tehran. That freedom of speech, they're trying to knock it off the air, but believe it or not, I think they're even broadcasting. They have film footage, and this building is on fire, in multiple places. And Iran is still broadcasting within that building. It's incredible TV stuff. Wow. It was a live broadcast, and when this lady was doing this live broadcast is the same time that Israel hit it. And this reminds me, remember back in those other times, and it's probably even maybe the same in Gaza, I don't know, but when Israel, one of the first things they do is they go in, there was like, what is the intifadas or whatever like that, is they take over the television stations. And a lot of them, and I think that was the same one where they killed the CNN reporter Ben Wiedemann. They killed a number of CNN and all that reporters, Israel, because they don't want any of this stuff reported and put out. But I think it was the same year they killed Ben Wiedemann. But first, they take over this station, and then they broadcast porno movies 24/7. So if any of the people I think it was in the West Bank, would turn on their television, they would see porno movies, things like that, so yeah, it'd probably be right in line with the LGBT stuff now from the Democrats and all that. So maybe they had some homosexual stuff. It's kind of weird also about there was some video, and it was in supposedly in Israel, and it shows some guy talking. He's in a room, a bunch of guys with their shirts off and talking. He said, what does he call himself? A power gay. And I don't know if they're supposed to all be a bunch. There was one woman. It looked like a woman in there. I don't know. You never know. Like I said, they got these things that look like women, and they got breasts, and I don't know. But it was obviously the rest of them were a bunch of guys with their shirts off, and saying how great it's going to be there. I think it was in a shelter or something, sheltering from Iranian attacks or something. I don't know. But I remember also watching one time, there's a guy, and I think he broadcasts from Colorado. He's a Orthodox, and I don't know if he's still on the air. His name is called Brother Nathaniel on YouTube, and he was talking about, because he was raised Jewish, and he was saying that when he noticed and all that, and he asked some rabbi when he was a younger guy, he said, why are we, this I thought we were not supposed to be homosexuals and all that stuff like that. So why are we promoting and all this sort of stuff? And I guess his rabbi or whatever said, that's for the goy. So they're making them become gays and destroying basically their social structure. But we are Jews and we are not gay. That's to make them all go gay. So I don't really know, you know. Maybe, anyway, say no more, say no more. Okay. Okay, let's see. What was I saying here? Oh, Israel is saying that, you know, they had to bomb that station, that TV station, because it was used to promote military operations under civilian cover. How? You know, and it's like, well, how? How did they do that? How is that being done? You know? Is it like, what was that? I don't know. There was a station. I think there was a website, and it's by Israel, and they actually have a way to be sending messages to Mossad agents abroad. I'm not even sure. It wasn't even that popular, but it was, of course, used by Israeli agents, the Mossad. It's weird that I know this stuff, isn't it? And I don't even remember the name. That was from my older days. And but they send messages to, you know, Mossad operatives in different countries through that website. And it was like the news wasn't anything great or nothing like that, but it's probably because there was a lot of codes in there. You know, I don't know. I never went to school there. You have to read that book. It wasn't in that book, but anyway, that's what I've just now told you. But a lot of the stuff they talk about is in that book titled "By Way of Deception." So you have to look it up. Maybe read it if you really are into that sort of stuff. Okay. What else here? Okay, I already talked about this this drone and the infiltrations, and they're talking about how it's very similar to the spider web. That Iran said they called this. I don't know if it was Operation Spiderweb. They called it Spider Web, and they eventually, slowly over period of time, smuggling a whole bunch of drone products into Russia, and you know, to hit those military bases, and you know, and anyway. But everybody, a lot of people, lots and lots of people, not lots of them, are talking about how spiderweb, this thing that we had just recently saw in Russia, is so very, very, very similar to what happened in Iran. And obviously what's going on here is it's very, very probable that the Mossad was helping Ukraine to set up this operation on how to smuggle drones in and how to attack these Russian bases. And you know, and I've talked a lot of times about how I say that there's no difference really, it's just a name, between this ideology that runs Israel and the ideology that runs Ukraine. And you know, in the old days they used to call this Nazis, you know, like that you are superior and all of this stuff. And this is just terrorism. It's terrorism. It's Nazi terrorism. This is some really vile stuff. This is the world today we live in, people. So, and you're watching this stuff, and I don't know. And obviously the United States has decided that they're going to side with the evil side, you know, the people that conduct this stuff. And you never know when is a lot of this stuff, or what sort of measures are they going to use against you if they're using this stuff, you know, really dastardly, cowardly things against people that are actually out for humanity. So what are they going to do against you when it comes down to the time? You guys have to think about these things. They're already probably doing some things to a lot of you. And I was talking with people as well, you know, and when you, like, for example, at least here, I was living in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you know, small Caribbean island, and of course I lived in the U.S. back in these old days. And it was a lot maybe different in those times. And I've lived in Germany, and I live here, and I noticed that in Germany, you know, they try to find especially even now, they're trying to find possible ways, any possible way to suck the money out of you. You didn't pay this, you're in violation of this, you didn't do that, blah, 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 blah. And then it's like any possible way to try to get some money out of your pocket. And I've talked to so many people from Germany that has the same sort of a thing, not only with their heating bills, water bills. They try to do it to us in many, many ways, like a shingle somehow loose on the roof. And they said that they have to remove the shingle because it's dangerous, because they're going to have a parade and all that. So we had to pay a whole bunch of money. Anyway, that governor or the mayor of that city was really, really corrupt. Did everything possible to suck. The town in the former Eastern Germany is called Werdau. Really corrupt mayor. And just so you guys know, don't buy a house in Werdau if you don't want to get these surprises. And of course, the people in Werdau also tell me about that. They said all these different ways to where that guy tries to suck money and get money out of people. Taxes, raising taxes, everything. Really. Well, that's Germany nowadays. Jeez, welcome to the real world. UK, the entire country is probably run that way now. So, Trump calling for the evacuation. Wait. I'll get to that in just a second. Apparently there are 3 oil tankers. This is some really recent stuff right before I started making this video. 3 oil tankers hit in the Gulf of Oman. You know, and it's like, Ernie, makes you what? I don't even know who did that. Maybe it's a false flag. Did Iran do it? I don't know. Under which country were these oil tankers? Where were they going? Did Oman help the United States? Iran has given out warnings. You know, you help the United States and Israel to attack Iran. You know, you might suffer some consequences. That might be part of the deal. I don't know. Okay, now what else? Where was I starting? Oh, Wait. Well, I'll mention that first. Russia, like I guess in the night, had launched massive attacks against Kiev. So, and I think they've hit some warehouses and things like that. I don't know, just so you know. Trump is calling for the evacuation of Tehran, but he doesn't know. He is not privy to what Israel is doing. He has nothing to do with that. So why would he be telling the people of Tehran to leave Tehran? You know, you never know. He either knows what Israel's going to do, or do you think maybe he's going to be involved in it, the United States? You know? And he says, I'll give Iran one more chance. You do what I tell you to do. You do exactly everything. You become totally subservient to the United States and Israel, or else. Basically, that's what Trump is saying. You will do what we say. Screw the laws of the international, you know, the United Nations. You do what we tell you to do. Oh. But no, he's not a dictator. I don't know. Iran is a dictator. Anyway, Israel has now prohibited any, this is, by the way, I'm almost finished here. I'm right at the end. Israel has prohibited any filming of anybody filming any hits on any military targets. Only civilian targets. Obviously, that's poor us for Israel, you know, crying, of course, and say, look at how bad the Iranians are hitting only civilians. So, only civilian targets are people allowed to film and like upload onto the video, onto the internet, YouTube, and all that sort of stuff, whatever. Okay, and some of the last news before I started this, and of course, obviously, this stuff is coming out hourly, maybe even half hourly. You know, where I don't know. This stuff is really a work in progress trying to keep up on this news. But just recently, the United States has sent a contingency, let's just say a contingency. They didn't exactly say how many, but they're sending a large, I don't know, what is a large amount? At least 20 each, F-22s and F-35s to that area. At least 20 each, 20 F-22s extra. Let me add that, extra. They've already got a lot in the area. You know, they got U.S. military bases, Air Force bases, and all that all around. And they're sending extra, more, you know, at least 20 F-22s and at least 20 F-35s. Gee, I wonder what they're gonna do there. I wonder why the United States is sending aircraft carriers. Why are they sending all of these airplanes? Why are they sending all these bombs? Why are they sending all of this stuff over there? Gee, do you think they're just a bunch of nice guys and there's nothing going on here? Jeez. So, let me throw this stuff away first here. Let me conclude this for all of you. There's going to be a war. The United States is going to bomb the crap out of Iran. Donald Trump, his ego is so big, and he thinks that, you know, just after 6 months of him him becoming the commander-in-chief, the United States military is the greatest on the planet, and there's no doubt that they probably have far, far more assets than Iran does. Whether they're going to be able to transfer all of those, or at least enough of those assets over there, that's a big question, because nobody really knows how much Iran actually has. Iran, they're not a bunch of dummies. They're not a bunch of dummies. And to be honest with you, you know, and I'm not trying to be anti-American, I'm trying to be pro-human. I hope that Iran, they have 2,000 of these hypersonic bombs, because some of these other things, they're getting intercepted by Israel and all this. And these arrogant, super arrogant governments like Israel and the United States, they think they can force their will upon anybody on the planet, except for maybe Russia. Of course, they're a little bit more cautious with Russia, but they want to, obviously they want to destroy Iran, and of course Donald Trump is part of that. Donald Trump has always hated Iran, and you know, they're partners in crime. So. Somebody's looking at somebody in the car. I thought she was staring at me here. This kind of chubby old lady here. Well, not that old, probably a lot younger than I am. I call them old. But anyway, I'm just trying to end this video now, and that's about all I have to say. It's a very long video. I knew it would be. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll try to keep you up on any kind of important things. I don't know, I feel guilty that I didn't put out a video yesterday. That's why this one's longer. So again, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys on the next one as usual.